Welcome to my channel for the single mom. This is Adrienne Simons, and today's topic is what many single moms deal with, which is dating and breakups. So Monique and I, my daughter, we're talking about what are the gifts that has come from the breakups that we've had. And let's get into that. So Monique, today we want to talk about breakups. I think for a lot of people, a breakup can feel like a really hard thing to move on from. I know for myself, after my divorce, have dated extensively. And some people, in some relationships with some people, you feel even more of a connection than other people. And those ones where you feel a really deep connection, when that comes to an end, it can take a while for you to deal with it and to move on from it.
It's like they say, it's kind of like you have to deal with a loss, you know, as if someone had died. You know, it kind of feels like that.
Yeah. So that brings up something quite interesting, because what I found for myself to be very helpful after I've had a few breakups, you know, and you think of how can you reframe this so you can get better at this, because when you've had a lot of breakups, like with anything, you'll get better at it.
Hopefully.
So one of the things, like you were saying now, is to realize that the grief is actually about the dream that you have. You have a dream that you want to meet someone that is that relationship that's the perfect fit for you, and you projected that dream onto this person. But realize you can keep your dream. Your dream is very much alive. It's just that that person was not the person it was meant to be with.
Exactly. I think that's actually a very important thing, the thing about projecting. People do that a lot, actually, just in general, you know what I mean?
For example?
I just mean you're obviously living life through like your own filters and, you know, how you see things. And then the thing about projecting is not in taking into account like reality. Do you know what I mean? In the sense of, because you are projecting something, you're not actually seeing things for what they are.
That is so true. So you've got these filters that you start seeing things through because of your childhood mostly.
Yeah.
And you, my daughter, so you grew up in a single mother
household.
Single mother household. And which means with me divorcing your father and him not really being much in your life, that obviously would impact your dating going forward unless you bring awareness to it. So you've also had a breakup or a few, and what would you say were the things you learned about yourself when you went through those breakups? And then I'll share some things that I learned about myself.
I think the biggest thing is to really like learn about, like you say, yourself, as in taking into account what is it you actually want, you know? Because I mean, like there's this thing where you have a whole list of, oh, I want this and my partner to be this and this and this and this. And then you may get that, but you're not taking into account the actual important things, which is how do you want to feel in a relationship.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
So before you had this breakup, your idea of how to think about what I want, was it almost like you make a list of?
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, they should be like this and this and this and this, and then...
So give examples of what like your thoughts were.
You see the thing with that other relationship I had, like the first one, when I was very young, obviously, when I went into the whole thing, and so I was thinking very much of that with that like kind of immature perspective, you know, of like, you know, like when you're a teenager, you're like, oh, well, this person needs to be good at sports, and they need to be smart, and they need to be this or whatever, you know what I mean? Things like that are very shallow, really.
Yeah.
But it's because you're young, you don't know that much, really. So I think that, yeah, like for example, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So for a lot of us, you may make a list of when you get older, you want him to have this kind of job or the potential for that kind of job. He needs to look like this. He needs to maybe drive this kind of car.
It
These
seems
are the kind
very
of
like
superficial
shallow,
things.
yeah, superficial things, exactly.
And some of the superficial things is you don't need to necessarily throw it out.
Yeah.
But the important thing is it must be coupled with the real stuff.
Yes.
The
And
real stuff should take priority. So what would be
Yeah.
like the real stuff that you, from your experience?
Like you say, like about how you need to take into account how you actually feel with them, or when they're not there, or you know, things like that. for me, one of the most important things I realize is like, I want to be with someone who brings that sense of like peace and content, you know? I think that's one of the most important things. And I mean, not just for like a relationship, but just in general, like anything. You want things to bring you peace and contentment and things like that.
Right. So, would you say then from the breakup, it gave you more clarity of what's important
Yes.
for you in relationship, romantically, and all other relationships, and in fact with your life?
Yes.
That you're basically in a space where you're feeling peace, which means you are in there's alignment
Exactly.
with what you have in your life.
Yeah.
So that is a very important thing to actually become aware of.
Yeah.
So the breakup made you aware of that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that is an important thing. So I do understand that for a lot of us, we need support in working through those suppressed emotions, in working through those emotional charges. So please check my programs in the link to help you with that. So what would I say from my breakups? I would say the same thing. It gave me clarity on what's important in a relationship for me. And like you were saying, that whether you are with the person or not with the person, you have that feeling of, I can trust them, I feel safe in this relationship, they connect enough with you for you to, more than enough with you for you to feel, there's no anxiety around the relationship.
There's no questions like, they're not making you like, oh, well, do they care about this or not? Or, there's none of that really.
Yeah, they're not actually doing things or being in a way that disturbs your mind and robs you of
It's
your
not so
peace of
funny when you
mind.
say it like that. Yes.
So it's just like a natural thing where it feels like they have like that calming effect on you.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you have to earn their attention or earn their love or
I think
be something that you're not. You don't have that kind
it's
of
like a
impulse to do those kind of things.
It's like a natural kind of flow, and like you just feel comfortable. I just mean comfortable in the sense of, like you say, like at peace and all those things. Like you just,
and that
it feels
comfortable
right
to be yourself.
Yes.
Not that like pressure, like, do I need to be like this so they can like me? Do I need to be like that? You don't have that kind of thing.
It's almost like, for me, I realize it's almost like how you are like with your closest people. For example, like you guys, like the family's I'm pretty close to you guys. We'll be pretty close. So it's like, can you feel like that with them as well? That sense of you just kind of being you. It feels like a natural thing.
Yeah. That is also what I found. So the first thing, one of the first things you learn from having a breakup is you get more clarity on what's important for you in a relationship, and you tend to find you go a little bit deeper. You're more focused on how you feel in the relationship instead of being focused on the person. So it's like you and the person, you create a relationship where both of you feel you're comfortable, you can be yourself, you're not having to be something you're not. You don't have that kind of thing going.
Exactly.
So I think that's also what I learned, but it took me much longer to learn that.
I think another really, really important thing that I just realized now as we were talking is about, like, you don't want to be in a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship because, like, I don't know, society is like, you should be in a relationship or whatever. Because for me, this is another thing I realized, like, I would rather be like on my own than be with someone who isn't like the right match for you. Because I feel like that it can cause you a lot of suffering that's kind of unnecessary also, you know? So like, I'd rather, like, you can rather just be on your own and wait for like the right person or whatever, instead of just being in a relationship just for the sake of it also.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I would agree with that. Everybody wants to have, not everybody, but for most people, for most women, they want a relationship, a romantic relationship, a committed relationship, a loving relationship. But from what you're saying is, you make space for that, but you're not just going to settle for what doesn't fit or feel right. And what I've found about about relationships is, it's about feeling the feeling of it, not how much do I feel in love with the person, but the relationship just feels right or it feels off.
Yeah.
So the
and like
focus
listen
isn't-
to your intuition with when it comes to things like that, because you'll I feel like you always know when something is not quite right, and instead of like just going along with it, just you don't have to. You never have to go with anything. You just
So it's important to listen to your intuition. Don't try and rationalize. Don't try to, let me use logic here.
I think a lot of women do that, where they kind of try to explain away things that maybe just because they really like someone especially, and like that's actually more where it's more important to maintain like your standards, or like your what it is that you want, because it's easy to kind of get lost in the thing when you like someone a lot.
Yeah. So the attention mustn't be so much on the man or the partner. The attention must be more on the relationship you're creating together.
And like the feeling.
Does that feel?
Yeah.
This is
secure
what I want.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Because you can be with someone that's amazing, wonderful, you're very in love with them, but the relationship is off, it's not working, you don't feel good in it. You need to pay attention to that.
Yes.
That's important. Okay, so I think that's a very important thing to learn from a breakup.